to remember someone I went to school with in Barbados. And I'm not going to say his name just for reasons of protection and anonymity, but I remember getting the Facebook message from one of our mutual friends, and he was like, hey, I just want to let you know that such and such, like, he committed suicide. And I was like, what? Like, it really took me back. The reason why his death impacted me so much was because I was in a very similar space. And very close to it. Like, very, very close to it. Like that was it. And the weirdest thing about it was him doing that felt like a confirmation to me that, like, maybe I should do it too, right?
If something standing between you and your happiness, it was for me. I had to face my depression and the constant negative self-talk. Therapy helped me realize I deserve to be happy. That's why this podcast is called I Choose Health, because I made the choice to heal, and I want to share that with you. It's Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. 60% of you who are watching this podcast are men. And brothers, it is time to take care of yourself. As a gift to you, we've partnered with BetterHelp as our sponsor to help you start your own healing journey. We all face moments when life feels overwhelming, whether it's stress, anxiety, or just feeling stuck. Talking to someone can make a real difference. And that's where our sponsor BetterHelp comes in. BetterHelp offers professional online therapy that's convenient, affordable, and entirely on your schedule. You can connect with a licensed therapist by video, phone, or even chat, whatever works best for you. Let our sponsor BetterHelp support you on your journey to better mental health. You can get 10% off your first month by going to betterhelp.com/iChooseHealth. That's betterhelp.com/iChooseHealth for 10% off your first month. Take the first step toward feeling better today.
All right, yo, welcome back to the I Choose Health podcast. Again, I'm your host, Stefan Lessie. And joining me today is actually another one of my, co-hosts that's going to be on for a couple of episodes. You guys saw him in episode 14, Andre Zemnovitch. How you doing, Andre?
I'm doing fantastic. How about you, my friend?
Man, I am feeling good, man. I am loving this whole thing, this whole setup. For me, I've always loved like an in-person element to just meeting and talking, right? It kind of reminds me of, so for those who are kind of familiar with ancient Greece, and so there was a place in ancient Greece called Mars Hill. And so people would go there, thinkers would go there to have different types of conversations just to figure out what was the talk of the day. And so kind of similar to how we have podcasts now and just have different trains of thought that's bouncing back and forth off of each other. So podcasting is not new, okay? It's been around for thousands of years. We just didn't have a whole camera setup.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But man, look, I'm really glad for you to be here, man. I really enjoyed, one, I enjoy our friendship. But two, I really enjoyed just how vulnerable you were with us last season on episode 14, just sharing how you overcame your addiction and coming into a place of presence and understanding. And so that was just really like breathtaking, it was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, and thank you for having me on. It was really cathartic. It always is to talk about my past. And I'm one of the few people who are truly proud, not of necessarily all the excess that I was a part of, but resurrecting myself. And now as I age, as I'm almost 40, from pretty much seeing the light at the end of the tunnel numerous times in my rock and roll days, I'm one of the few people that I really know that truly loves aging. As I turn 40, some people hide their age, and I'm like, I'm still this and this, or do a bunch of plastic, surgery procedures. I love aging. Every single day that I'm alive, I feel is an accomplishment. So I feel at this rate, when I'm hopefully 70, 80, 90, I'll feel even better than I do right now. That is one of the modus operandi that I try to instill into my clients, is to really hop on that perpetual verve and vitality bandwagon.
That was a good plug over there, because he's got his podcast coming, Verve and Vitality. I'm looking forward to it. I heard him playing with it a little bit over the weekend, so that was great to hear, man. So, I'm giving that a promo. You guys are going to be seeing that in a couple of weeks. But I definitely want to shout that out, because what he's got coming is great. As a matter of fact, talking about Verve and Vitality, because I know we talked about the idea that, life is pretty much over at 70, right? Or prior to, for some people. So speak about that as well, where, people feel that like, all right, once I hit 70, my best days are behind me. Just go into that and look at the fact that, like, yeah, actually our best days could be ahead of us, like, as we're getting better.
So I know maybe this isn't a totally relevant juxtaposition to this day and age matrix we're in, but you're familiar with all those kung fu movies, right? Mm-hmm. Who's the wisest, most powerful person? It's that 150-year-old monk on top of the mountain. So as he aged, like good bourbon, like good wine, if you age properly, you are amassing, you are assimilating all of these amazing experiences, senses, and essences that you accomplish in your day-to-day life. And of course, as we are in this hustle and bustle world, just focusing on waking up, making it to work, surviving financially, we start to really spike our stress hormone. And what that happens is we age prematurely. And that's one of the reasons, of course, toxins in our food and the air. But stress, man, I'm telling you, as you know, is one of the worst things out there. So one word for people that really want to just start to research the right way into aging, well, adaptogens.
And I guess we're going to explore that a little bit more as we get into this episode. And I want to start this podcast off on a positive note. One of our, I think, good friends, Alicia, was one of the group fitness trainers at Chelsea. She always says, you know, what are you thankful for? And I'm really thankful for her just, you know, being that person to keep that in perspective. Because a lot of times I think we become very complacent in terms of just focusing on what it is we want to complain about or argue about. And for me, you know, I'm learning to be like, okay, like, what are you thankful for? Because there's way more to be thankful for than there is to complain about. So I want you to, like, just start on what it is you're thankful for. And then also, I'm going to share what I'm thankful for as well.
Dude, I'm thankful for everything. And I don't want to sound like one of those live, laugh, love people, but I truly am thankful for everything. And it truly was a blessing for me to survive the craziness that I've experienced in my 20s. And back then, it was a blur. Even though I had more finances, even though I was at the sickest parties, even though I was partying with rock stars and who knows who, it was a blur. I didn't appreciate it. It was just a perpetual hangover. Now, after years of meditation, getting into Zen, breathwork, Qigong, Tai Chi, which you know are my specialties when I train, I now appreciate every breath. I appreciate every warm shower. I appreciate this right here, our camaraderie. I appreciate the wavelengths that we're setting out there to the masses. And as the great philosopher Rumi said, and pardon me, I believe I'm paraphrasing, but you got to wear gratitude like a cloak, and then gratitude's going to appear everywhere that you look.
Yeah.
And that's a law of attraction. That's, I remember this old law of attraction anecdote. This was before Uber days. When you wanted to catch a yellow taxi, you would go into Times Square, or if you were a tourist somewhere, and you would focus on a yellow taxi. That was what you would find, was that yellow taxi, because your perception would be finding that. So it's the same with gratitude. If you find things to be grateful for, you're going to get a lot more things to be grateful for.
Yeah.
And it becomes that really positive Pandora's box of instead of bad things, of good things that you just see.
And I think it shows the power of perception, like how much whatever we're focused on is what we really see. Right? So if you're focused on everything that's bad, you tend to see the bad. So for me, one thing that I had to learn to stop doing, I've always been saying that my life is a definition of Murphy's Law, right? Like whatever can go wrong will go wrong. It's like, why does this always happen? And I started to realize, like, whatever I want to come back to me, I got to put it out there, right? And that is just a true principle. And so I can't allow myself to be held to these like arbitrary, or I should say very subjective laws, right? With Murphy's Law that talks about whatever can go wrong will go wrong. And in a sense, right, it's true in a sense, but really a lot of it boils down to the power that we have. And I'm really thankful for life in general, just like everything. And, you know, at this point, just say rest in peace to the people who lost their lives in that Air India crash.
Yes.
That was crazy. I saw the amount of people that perished in that. I'm seeing a lot of different numbers. Some are saying 241. Some other places are saying 260. Some are saying 290. And I think I was talking with someone about it. They were saying that they're taking into account maybe people who were on the ground when it crashed. So they're looking at that. And I think somebody who's definitely grateful is a lone survivor. I don't have his name. I'm going to put up on the screen at some point. And I think they were asking him how he felt, you know, and, you know, how grateful you feel to be alive. But, you know, he was like, hey, people forget that my brother was on that flight. Apparently his brother died in the flight.
Can you imagine the survivor's guilt that this poor, like, I guess also simultaneously lucky gentleman is going to experience?
And I mean, I'm thankful that he survived, but it's going to be the healing. God only knows when the healing begins.
You know, to get a little bit maybe esoteric out there, but you kind of believe that he's here for a purpose. That he was spared oblivion, and he's going to do something amazing. Even his energy, just his presence.
Yeah,
something's going to be special with this guy.
You know, I was just saying, again, people can believe what they want to believe, but like I think about how do you go through something like that and not become at least somewhat spiritual or somewhat religious? Like, out of all these people that died, I survived.
One person.
Yeah.
In like, I think he was in the 11th row, if I'm not mistaken. So it wasn't like he was all the way in the front, all the way in the back. Just, that's kismet.
So one of the funny phenomena is that, this is not a funny situation, but one of the phenomena that has come out of that, my client this morning actually made me aware of it, is that there are people who maybe buy in seats like 11 because they think it's kind of like a lucky number. And so he was like, my client was also looking for his flights when he was like looking for seat 11, right? Which is just kind of funny how human beings like process things. Look, man, things happen.
Different cultures have different lucky numbers. In the West, 6 is considered to be kind of like a bad number, biblical times. But I remember I was playing Pai Gow poker in Atlantic City, and it's a very popular game with the Asian community. And they have seats, 1 through 8, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And 6 was open, and I sat on number 5. And one of the older gentlemen said, "Oh, 6 is a lucky number in the East. 6 means good luck."
Yeah.
And I remember I sat at number 6, and man, I'm usually not lucky with gambling, but I had a roll and a half, I'm telling you.
That's great, man. So, listen, man, again, rest in peace to those people. Yeah. And I want to use this as a way to kind of segue into the topic of mental health. You know, this is Men's Mental Health Month, Mental Health Awareness Month. And rest in peace also to, if you guys are familiar with R&B singer Brian Knight, his first son actually passed away a couple weeks ago. Son had cancer, and it was very publicized because Brian Knight and the kids from his first marriage were actually in a very bad relationship. So I'm just hoping that they didn't end things on a bad note. I hope that there was some reconciliation. So, you know, rest in peace to him as well. And I think it is so vital. One of the major things that is connected to men's mental health is also their relationship with their children. And so we have this Sunday coming, is going to be Father's Day. So I think, you know, as men, just be grateful for the children in our life, the people in our life, maximize every potential to spend time with them, to be there for them, regardless of the history, regardless of all the things that you think were so terrible. And I'm not going to speak pejoratively on Lawrence Fishburne, but if you remember a couple of years ago, his daughter went into porn. And so he was very much hurt by that. So he kind of disowned her. But there's a sense to which you have to understand, my child is going to be my child, right? So I still have to love her regardless, and hope and just be as active in her life as I can, and hopefully have her see a different way or a different perspective of not having to go into that, you know? So I want to get right to our show in terms of men's mental health. And, you know, as we said, we talked about going beyond this idea of not being able to make it past, right, 70, and just going, you were talking about the adaptogens, right? Speak about that, because I've heard this word, but I'm not very familiar with the concept of it and how that affects us and our length of life. Like, how does that affect us?
All of these were adapting to the changing climates. So there are herbs, mushrooms in particular, out there, which allows our bodies to perpetually adapt into higher frequencies, into better workings. One example that I always recommend and give my clients is reishi mushroom, if you're familiar with it. And reishi, also called the mushroom of immortality, for many years was kept private by the Chinese emperors just for themselves and their families, because it would better the heart, better circulation, and they wanted to have kind of that up on the general public. There's other adaptogens, and Paul Stamets, the owner of Host Defense, he speaks about this ad nauseum, about chaga, about cordyceps. For instance, you want to have a little bit of energy, you take some cordyceps mushrooms. You want to clean out toxins from your body, or if God forbid you're dealing with chemotherapy or heavy metal poisoning, chaga, which is this fungus technically that grows on a birch tree, and it's a cancer for the birch tree. But when you cut it off, you actually do a positive for the birch tree. And then as you eat it, it does the opposite of what a cancer does. It cleans your system out instead of metastasizing into all of these atrocities.
Yes.
So once we learn to really harness the power of adaptogens, as well as having our cycle and having everything be in a right pattern, we not necessarily stop the Grim Reaper from coming to us, but man, we delay it for a long time.
Yeah.
And adaptogens help balance our endocrine system, our good hormones, lower our stress hormones, as I mentioned, because we are our great grandfathers and grandmothers. We still carry all that trauma, all that fight or flight response that was needed to evolve. Because times were tough, times are pretty tough right now too. And it's our duty to get ourselves into our absolute highest states of being. And I remember what, I don't remember directly, but what was it, Socrates that said that it's a shame for a man not to know the extent of his athleticism in his butt.
Yeah.
And adaptogens, when properly used, the closest I could relate them to is positive steroids. Like, I know steroids has a negative connotation, in my opinion, as I'm sure, but adaptogens allow you to think clearer, to have a healthier heart, to have a better immune system. And all of that allows you to set yourself on patterns which are going to be much more beneficial to your self-evolution. And my fitness brand, High Chi Fitness, our modus operandi is never stop evolving. And it's an old Zen proverb that as soon as you reach a plateau, there's two more ready for you. So you just got to transcend it. You could never plateau if you're on the right path.
I think that's a law for getting better as you age as well. Because I think, again, we fall into these types of thinking, well, if I get to this age, this is how I'm supposed to be. I'm kind of set in my ways. For some reason, get into that way of operating where we don't want to change the way we think, the way we moved, the way we operate. Dad, I apologize for this. Like, with my dad, for example, he's, a little bit up in years, almost 70. He's going to be 70 this year.
Mine is 84.
Hey, that's the best.
He's the baby of the family.
But like, with my dad, it's just like, he'll call me. He's like, hey, can you come over and show me this thing on my cell phone? I'm like, Dad, I'm at work. I can't come over and, like, are you able to look at the phone and try to, get some familiarity? So even when I try to teach him some things with how to use a phone, and again, my father's situation is a little bit different just because of the dementia. So I know it's hard to lay down new memory tracks. That consolidation is going to be tough for him. So I understand.
There's also has dementia.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of
yeah. So it's just like, but like for those people who don't have those things that are in the way, right? It is important to make sure that we are consolidating those memories and, working on the strength of the brain.
So regarding dementia, my father's dementia was really bad 5 or 6 years ago. Doctors didn't know what to do. There was no medication, still no medication. There's one that came out, Rexulti, that has more side effects than I could list. So I remember I went to an herbalist and he said, start giving your father lion's mane, which is another adaptogen, Bacopa, Bacopa, ginkgo biloba, and cordyceps. Those.
Cordyceps are amazing, by the way.
Amazing. Bacopa especially was something new. I knew about lion's mane because I used it myself to regrow all of my neurological synapses that I burned off with partaking in who knows how many serotonin boosting substances in my life.
That's what we call it now. That's good.
Yeah. Politically correct. But I will tell you right now, at 84 right now, compared to about 78 when it was so bad that we really didn't know what to do, he's 80% better. I'm serious. He's 80% better. You don't have to take my word for it. You can ask my mom. You can ask my brother. You can ask all the people around. He literally is now reminding me of being that 50-year-old successful restaurant owner, beloved restaurant owner. And I asked him, I said, Dad, how do you feel? He takes it every day. We take some breaks out of just to allow the body to but it's because he's also in a lot of, pharmaceutical pills for blood pressure and statins and all that. And he says, son, it saved me.
Yeah.
I finally feel like myself. So for your father, I cannot recommend this enough. And again, Polston has it's called Brain Defense, I believe. And it's got bacopa, ginkgo biloba, lion's mane, and cordyceps.
Yeah, that's probably going to be the best way I'm going to have to do it with him, because the one thing, food-wise, that my father hates, mushrooms. Right. So I'm saying that's why we're going to have to do it that way, because I think pills going to be the best way. Right. Now, the funny thing is that with my brother now, my brother hates taking pills, but he'll eat the stuff in food. So it's just like a funny dynamic with my brother and my father. But, I think one of the reasons why people like us start these podcasts is that we see so much in our family, in our communities, where our families could be adopting healthier ways and they're not. Right. We're trying to be positive influences around them as well. And so that's, some of the people that I know who are some of the top people in health, and they're like, man, my mom doesn't live healthy, or my dad doesn't live healthy, or my siblings don't live this way, right? And it's a consistent battle. Imagine being that guy that has been able to help thousands of people, but I can't help my mom and dad just because they're resistant to change.
The effects are really paying off.
No, that's amazing.
And I am a fan of both Eastern and Western medicine. I'm not one of those, it's just got to be meditation and yoga and Ayurvedic medicine. No, but at the same time, not just pills, pharmacy. I believe it's got to be a combination of East and West. And I was blessed enough in my life, especially after I got sober from all the hard BS, to start learning about plant medicines, holistic, Ayurveda, shamanism. Every week I study, and I mentioned him a lot, my master Wu, and I study traditional Chinese medicine, acupuncture, qigong. Every single week I go to Chinatown, and it's amazing how you learn how the body starts to heal itself, work itself, once you really tap into the qi and the meridians and balance, the equilibrium with what you put into your temple. And simultaneously, I love reading about all the up-to-date Western approaches. Now, you might be hearing that type 1 diabetes is starting to be healed, especially overseas in China. They made a major breakthrough with HIV, with the actual cell starting to destroy itself. Major cancer breakthroughs are starting to come with, again, cellular, I forgot what the word is, but pretty much the cell starts to eat out all the bad stuff.
Is it apoptosis, I think it is, the breakdown of the cell?
Perhaps, or cellular degeneration.
Yeah.
But
Welcome to week 10 of 52 Choices, where small changes build a better you. This week's choice is to use smaller plates to naturally reduce portions. Why? Because our brains are wired to fill the space we see. It's called the Delboeuf illusion. When we use a large plate, even a normal portion can look small, leading us to overeat without realizing it. In a 2012 Cornell University study, people who used smaller plates ate 22% fewer calories without feeling deprived. So this week, try swapping out your dinner plate for a salad plate. You'll still feel satisfied, but your portions will shrink effortlessly. Small plate, big impact. Make health personal. Make a choice to be you.
I could find the link to it. But we're at a time right now where all of this is starting to become public. And once you add in, for instance, lion's mane, which is now scientifically proven to regrow all these dead neuroreceptors and aid in neuroplasticity, and bacopa, which clears out all of this excess gunk, and people are starting to be more conscious about putting less heavy metals in their diet. And now there's a lot of studies saying that dementia is due to excess aluminum or excess heavy metals that start to get plaqued up in the brain. You can see it right now, whatever you want to call this epoch that we're in, but there is starting to be a mass awakening. People are starting, it might take another few years, maybe another decade or two, but I'm telling you right now, 75, 77, I believe, is the average age right now in America for people to live. That's going to be 120 within the next 20 or 25 years. And if you're familiar with Robert Anton Wilson, he has a great book called Prometheus Rising. He talks about how exponentially science and medicine is starting to develop positively. And we're at that time frame right now where every single year is going to be like 50 years of advancements. And one of the big reasons is the symbiosis with Eastern and Western medicine. And of course, adaptogens, which was nature. What did Voltaire said? That a physician's job is to entertain the patient while nature cures.
You're not going to hear that from conventional medicine, right?
No.
But I'm thankful enough for the physicians out there who are really trying to keep up with the Hippocratic way of doing things. And just to refer to an episode we did 2 weeks ago to Ace Anderson's episode where he talks about let food be thy medicine. He lives in West Palm Beach in Florida, and there's actually a place close to him called Hippocrates Wellness. And so they treat people the way that Hippocrates would have through the use of food, through nutrition, the way that it should be, which would be way more effective, way more cost effective as well. But of course, there's way more money in medicine. So of course, right. So I want to shift gears for a quick second. So, as we said, this month is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. And, let's be real, the silence around men's struggles is definite. Just to give some stats here, men are 4 times more likely to die by suicide than women. 1 in 3 men say they have no close friends. And, in reality, I could say that, I have close friends, and I would say that they have multiplied in the last couple of years. I would say that I have made an effort to do that, right? But in the past, it was more like I was on my own. I was doing my own thing. But 1 in 3 men say they have no close friends. Less than 40% of men struggling with mental health ever seek help, right? Less than 40%. And again, we live in a society where it's not encouraged, right? It's encouraged at the medical side of things, but socially it's kind of looked down upon. Right.
I think it's starting to turn out of that. More and more men are starting to seek help again. Not nearly enough as it should be. Everyone should. I kind of wish that I did. Because prior to finding Eastern medicine and meditation and breathwork, I had OCD, ADHD. I still do, but it was so bad that I just could not function. And Tourette's syndrome, which was all connected to my anxiety, complex PTSD. I think I have all the acronyms in the DSM-5 manual, but I wish I seeked help earlier than I did, because I believe I would have been in a better place than I am now. And right now I'm at a pretty good place, but definitely I went through a lot of unnecessary loops of my own cranial inferno to get to where I am.
Man, so I had Adam Sudd on the podcast last week, and I should say earlier this week, and his story was so impactful, man. Like if you watch the episode, is out now. I actually tear up at some point, and I didn't think I was going to have somebody have me cry on the podcast. I knew it was coming at some point, but just the way that he was talking about, I think he was quoting Jordan Peterson, and Jordan Peterson was saying, "Never underestimate the hole that your absence leaves," right? With your loved ones. And so sometimes, we think about suicide because the people we are around do not want to validate our importance in our existence. And again, you should be validating your own importance and existence, right? Through the way that you love others and the time you spend with others and the things that you do. But, we're in a place where men get messaging that is telling them they're not good enough, right? And, I think it's important for us to, if that's the messaging that a lot of men are getting, that we're making sure that we're positive in our communities and say, hey, no, man, I appreciate you. I thank you for coming in and smiling. Even at work, Stanley was saying, hey, man, he said, one thing I can say about you, man, you come in, you always smile. And I don't know what that means for him, but it sounds like he appreciates that, right? Appreciates that there's not somebody coming in there with a bad vibe. So, it's important for us to really value the people around us.
They need it. If instead of going even harder down that rabbit hole, that they would have recalibrated and then seek to decompress and get to the root of the trauma. Because a lot of the work that I did with myself and getting sober, it's going to be 10 years in August. This August is going to be 10 years, was to seek the root, because addiction is a hydra. You think you deal with one head, there's 4 other that appear. So you got to get to the root cause. In my case, it was trauma. It was undiagnosed, a plethora of, as mentioned, undiagnosed things that I was dealing with. And that forced me to go into those patterns of access.
Yeah.
But if I seek help earlier, again, thank God I'm alive, I'm healthy, so grateful to God, to the universe, to everyone. But if I seek help a little bit earlier, in my particular case, I would have been much more comfortable than I am right now, energetically, financially, emotionally, everything. So to anyone listening, no matter how small you think that your strife is, it's not. Go and get help if you really feel that violent, and believe me, it could.
I'm glad you shared that because it definitely caused me to remember someone I went to school with in Barbados, and I'm not going to say his name just for reasons of protection and anonymity, but I remember getting the Facebook message from one of our mutual friends, and he was like, hey, I just want to let you know that such and such, like, he committed suicide. And I was like, what? Like, it really took me back. The reason why his death impacted me so much was because I was in a very similar space. I was in a very similar space and very close to it. Like, very, very close to it. Like that was it. And the weirdest thing about it was him doing that felt like a confirmation to me that, like, maybe I should do it too, right? So I know that's hard to hear now, and but that's the reality of it. And I thought about it, I'm like, well, maybe. But then a part of me was like, at this point, my daughter wasn't born yet. This was actually a year before my daughter was born.
This was
yeah, it's pretty recent. And so I remember hearing that he had 2 kids, and I remember thinking at the time, I'm like, why would you do that? At that time, even though I was in that headspace, I was like, why would you do that? You had 2 kids to live for. And I don't know his reason for doing it, but, and I see every now and then on Facebook, we'll post, people who put out posts like, hey, missing you, and they'll post a picture from like whenever they spent this particular time together. So shout out to him as well. Rest in peace to him as well. He's somebody that I'll definitely keep near and dear to my heart. His family, his kids, that still impacts me to this day, and it gives me now more of a reason to be thankful and to try to really live for the people around me and live, for myself, to enjoy everything that life really has for me. And I think for us, our scope is so limited. And so we think, well, I guess this is it. Like, what else is there for me? Right. And I think, unfortunately, that was a space that he was in and he couldn't see out of it. And again, as Andre was saying, to those of you who need that help, get it. And with us here at I Choose Health, we do have our sponsorship with BetterHelp. And so if you are looking to find a way, something that's affordable and easy for you, I'm going to post a link in the description, betterhelp.com/I Choose Health, and you get 10% off that first month. So it's pretty affordable. And again, it's convenient because you are able to speak to a licensed therapist, whether that's by phone or video conferencing. So I'm going to put that link in the description, but that's something you could take advantage of.
To add to even though I'm not a licensed therapist, obviously go seek a licensed therapist first and foremost, but you can leave my contact information if someone feels they just want a bro to talk with, someone that's been through the meat grinder so many times. With great pleasure. We'll always listen. We'll always try to comfort. We'll always offer any sort of fitness, meditation, breathwork. That's my specialty. If you really feel, for the viewers that you just need that little extra asset, please, I'm always available. Pro bono in this case when it comes to mental health.
Yeah.
So I can leave my information and contact me at any time. I'll always have it here for you to listen.
Yeah, and I definitely appreciate that, man. And another thing that is also leading to depression is the digital burnout, right? From overstimulation. I can't really get that upset because I do it too, right? Where I'm like, I find myself on my phone and I get into that doom scroll.
The morning doom scrolling.
Yeah.
Absorbing all that UV light that blasts our circadian rhythm, that causes a negative domino effect. Me, myself also. It's at 2 a.m. looking at cats.
I mean, if you're going to do it with cats.
I did do it with cats. Also cats. eventually my algorithm gets into the most preposterous hoopla I could even imagine.
Oh man, listen, sometimes I see those videos and I know my mom has an appreciation. My mom and brother have an appreciation for those animals. So sometimes I'll send over those dog and cat clips. So they're fun to watch. And I don't know, I think our fascination with animals is that I think they're the only beings within our realm that are really authentic with us in their communication. I think with human beings, we have so many filters. And I'm not saying obviously there's some animals that do things for protection, but for the most part, they're very like, that's who they are.
They're real.
Yeah, they're real. And I think this is why we have an appreciation and adoration for animals, because of,
especially where we live in this society and stuff, everyone is wearing the masks, as you mentioned. Masks, the St. Japanese call, we wear 3 masks. One that we show the public, one that we show our friends and family, and one that we just show for ourselves. Animals don't have that. Animals have that just realness, that authenticity, and love.
Well, look, just because we're short on time, I want to share these 3 things. I want to provide as much value as I can from this video. So I want to list 3 things that you can do right now to support men's mental health. All right, the first we're saying is to create stillness. Just 10 minutes a day, no phone, no noise, just presence, right? And for most of us who were born before the quote-unquote dot-com era, before the cell phones, right? This was a very easy feat. Not now, right? But try to create that time in the day just to have that stillness. Spend that time alone, just whether you feel like you want to connect with ultimate reality, with God, whatever that is, right? Or just with your child. One of my favorite things to do, and I did it with my daughter last night, was just sit down, just stare into her face. And we're just staring at each other, we're smiling, right? And it's just like, it is the greatest thing in my day, just staring into her face. And my daughter is hilarious. It's hilarious, the things she does, the way she interacts.
She's adorable.
Man. And so just take that time, man. And listen, having an amazing, cute kid, that 10 minutes is going to go by quickly. You could do that for hours on end. So just practice that stillness. For everybody out there, for women out there, everybody else, check in. Deeply ask a man in your life, how's your heart? Then pause. Wait for the real answer. Because as men, I think we're really good at default answers.
How's your heart? Those are 3 powerful words.
Yeah. We're really good at default answers, right? So I'm like, yeah, I'm good, man.
Okay.
I'm okay, right? And I think, I don't know. I think if we had a different society, if we weren't set up the way we were because of our economy, right? I think we would actually respond truly. But I think because we're trying to get about our day, we have this, that, the next to do. So we're like, I'm good, bro. All right, on to the next thing, right? And then we get into all these other conversations that really don't profit us. One thing that Adam shared with me this week, and again, if you guys get a chance, please look at that episode 23 that Adam said. He was saying that being present is necessary for healing, right? And I noticed that, he was saying that one of the persons that he didn't like was himself, right? If you're not comfortable with yourself, being true and present with yourself is the hardest thing to do.
It doesn't harm you as much as you could harm yourself.
Yeah, and that's really impactful. And so just think about it, man. And for everyone who loves to fall into these like reductionistic ideas of what humanity is like, I noticed that a lot of the religious texts always emphasize this idea of like, no man's island, how we're supposed to connect with each other. They bring out these deep spiritual truths. And I know everybody likes to run away from spirituality, but there's some things shared there that really benefit us. And I mean, there are people who spent the time, the experience, the pain to share what they're sharing with us right now.
Wisdom everywhere. Everywhere you look, there's wisdom.
And I'm seeing so much wisdom in the smallest of things, right? In the smallest of beings,
just like amount. The way a gentle breeze blows a cherry blossom. There's no amount of mystique and limit to the amount of mystique and magic that you get from that simple little element happening. But here in this society, we're programmed to look at all this excess, almost seizure-causing lights and sensual sounds and everything, that we get bombarded with all these cataclysmic nuances that we start to take for granted this infinite splendor that is around us. That you mentioned before smartphones. Remember the dirt on it generation that we had to come home when the lights come out.
Yeah.
We're getting old, you know.
Hey. I mean, talk for yourself, man.
I'm old, huh?
Nah, it's so funny. My mom reminds me. She's like, "You'll be 40 in 5 years."
I'll be 40 in 2. So.
Oh yeah. But hey, man, listen. And again, that's a blessing in itself, right? To be able to get older, but also get wiser and feel better. And that goes into the next thing, right? The third thing here is just moving with intention. Walk, live, stretch, sweat, movement. Shifts.
Keep taking yourself to a higher level.
Mm-hmm.
That's the secret of longevity, of stamina. Dare I say, almost immortality is just don't regress.
Yeah.
Keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Keep the trajectory onward.
Well, guys, listen, man, we are out of time.
Yeah.
But we're going to have to do another one of these.
We're going to have to do one more.
So
we're just getting started.
Yeah.
Getting the ball.
Andre, thank you for joining us. And guys, just please tune in. If this broadcast, this episode has provided value for you, please hit the subscribe button. Also hit the notification bell so that you can be notified every time we have an episode come out. Again, I Choose Health here is about letting you know that choosing health is about choosing possibility, purpose, right? It's about all those things. And for, again, speaking on men's mental health, men, if you need that help, right? You reach out to me, reach out to Andre, but just remember that there is help out there. There are people who are invested in you. There are people who want to see you thrive. There are people who want to see you succeed. And I was just going back to, I don't know, Adam's episode really impacted me in such a way. And he was saying, like, you know, there are people in your life who, if you were to take that step to end your life, there are people who...
James Stewart.
You know what? So
where the Christmas spirit shows him how life would be if he would jump off the bridge.
I have to put that on my list of movies to watch.
But this is coming to you guys regarding mental health, not from two people who have flown through it. This is coming from two people who, for all intents and purposes, very likely could not be here or should not be here right now. I've been legally dead. You know me. We're still doing pretty good.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Andre Zemnovitch.
There you go.
There we go.
Telemarketer's nightmare.
Oh man, I'm just gonna call him Andre Z. All right, no, I'm just kidding. Andre, thank you for tuning in with us, and I'm looking forward to doing the next episode with you, man.
Amen.
There we go.